Hello and good morning. If you're watching the replay, it might be afternoon, so I should say good morning, good afternoon, or different time zones, right? We have people all over the world watching with us today. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're on this early, you are probably on the replay. So of course, as always, give me a hashtag replay. I like to know that my personal time isn't being wasted as well. Time is precious. And it is, to me, the most valuable commodity. We can always make more money. We can always get more things. But once time is gone, it's gone forever. So I really just value time. And that's why, as my member, if anyone who shows up for my membership, the first thing I teach is time management, just to help you gain more time and learn how to control your time, how to respect your time, and how to teach other people to respect your time. So for those of you who are joining me for the first time, my name is Evelyn Knight. I am the founder and CEO of Childcare Business Professionals. I'm also a childcare center owner. So I am a childcare business coach, and I have my own childcare center. So I use the methods that I have learned in my center in order to teach you, and I bring the information to you. I kind of use my center as the incubator. It's like the test subject. So the things that work, I bring to you. The things that didn't work out for me, you guys never get to hear about. But there's plenty of that too, right? So new week. I hope you guys enjoyed the series we did last week on the Creative Recruiting Bootcamp. If you missed it, I want to remind you that those videos do come down tomorrow. So tomorrow at midnight, those videos will be gone. That is a series I normally charge a lot for. So I am giving it to the ECE community for free for about a week and a half. I'm providing this for free. So try and get in what you can. Make sure you have the workbook. If you guys don't have the workbook yet, let us know in the comments. My staff can get you the workbook. And if you're not set up with one of my team members yet, let us know, because they are there to help you, to guide you through this, to answer your questions, just as a support. Basically, for this week, I just wanted to let my support team be out there to support you as well. I'm one person. It's really hard for me to get to everybody out there. So last week, by the time everything was said and done, we had quite a few people watching. So I brought my team in and I just said, let's help the community. I love the ECE community. So that is my way of giving back. And today I wanted to let you guys know we will be answering your questions. If you haven't submitted a question, I see we got some more this morning I'm looking at. We have some that you submitted to your concierge, which are my team members. Last week, I'm going to be addressing many of those. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. I did not write down the names of the people who submitted. I'm sorry. I usually like to say, hey, so-and-so submitted this one. So some of them I will, some of them I don't have your name. So I do apologize for that. But if you have a question, leave them in the comments. If I have time, I will get to them, or I can also reply to you guys in the comments if we run out of time today. So also, I do want to remind you that we actually do have opened up my membership right now. We are taking enrollees into my childcare business professionals mastermind group, which basically helps owners and directors learn and navigate the business of childcare. Right now, we are doing a leadership series, and I'm really just training on how to be a good leader. I'm actually training my own directors right now. I was in the process of opening 3 centers, but one of them, the deal fell apart, so I backed out of that. But I am currently training a total of 6 new management within my own program. And so right now, what I decided for my members is I'm going to film live the series I'm teaching my own managers. This is exactly the training that my directors go through to become one of my directors. And all of my members are in on that training. So if you become a member now, you can actually be a part of that training. Whether you're an owner or a director, it is a very important training because it is just foundational leadership skills. So whether you're an owner or director, it pertains to both. Any of the trainings you've missed have been recorded, and they are in our membership group. So everything I do is pre-recorded and posted for your watching in the future. So that is a really, really important series to jump in on now, so you can be there, really participate in that, and just learn how to be a better leader. For also, the other thing I want to let you guys know is when you join my membership, I consider your childcare center a member, not just you personally. So if you're an owner and you have a team, your team can join in on these. Like you have directors, your directors can actually join in on this series. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just you as an owner, even though I really highly recommend that you do the training that your directors are too. So you can bring your team in as well. It isn't just you. So let us know if that's something you're interested in. Get a hold of one of my team members. Let us know in the comments. We can get you started today so that you can make it for Thursday's training. I also do office hours once a week, every week at 9 a.m. I'm just telling you 9 a.m. Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time are my office hours where I just jump on Zoom and I'm available to you guys. And so if that's something you're interested in, also let one of my team members know that we also have lots. Prina Richards trains on a classroom management every month. I have a financial training that comes in every month. We have a mindset training and just a lot of different trainings that come to you guys every single month as one of my members. You also get everything I have, my employee handbook, my parent handbook, everything that I have, we actually is provided to you, and you can make it your own. My new hire training, that's the one that everybody wants, is my new hire training. So that actually comes with my membership. So again, everything comes down. Wednesday, my price does go up. Right now, my membership is only $297 a month. That's it. And you literally get everything that I just mentioned, plus all the documents that I've created over 15 years. My business coach actually looked at my stuff and said, "You're crazy to only be charging $297. So as of Wednesday, the price is actually going up to $497. Anybody who gets in by Tuesday at midnight will get that $297 price. If you decide to pay in full for the year, we are discounting it 15%. So we're taking that $297, we're discounting it 15% if you decide to pay the year in full, right? It's a huge savings, you guys. It's over $500 savings. So as a business coach, that's the way I would absolutely suggest you go to save your money, right? But I get it. If you can't, the $297 is pretty doable. Honestly, $497 is doable, which is why we are raising the price. So if you decide to come in with us, don't wait, or you will be paying $200 a month more as of next week. So don't wait too long. What do you have to lose at this point, right? At this point, if you're already struggling, what do you have to lose? We are bringing you value that is actually going to give you a return on the investment, right? One of my clients was telling you guys yesterday in the over here in our feed that she really did the math, and she figured out that joining my membership would give her a major return on investment. That $297 a month, it would make her up the money in a heartbeat, right? If you just start retaining your staff and stop losing children, the membership is going to pay for itself. So don't hesitate. Don't overthink it. Believe in you, right? Do you believe in your center and your dream? Are you and your center worth investing in? That is why I personally invest in coaching. And you guys, my business coach is $2,500 a month. I pay quite a bit for my business coach, but I also know that I am worth it. And so is my business. And I understand that always having a mentor that is a step above me is how I'm always going to become better. I can always, no matter where I'm at, I can always become the next better version of myself. My businesses can always improve and get better and better and better, right? But that means I have to seek mentors that are at that level I want to be. I find the person who is where I want to be, and that's the person I hire. And so if me as a child care center owner, if I am where you want to be, and if I have your dream center, I'm the person you want to work with. Absolutely, right? Because I am teaching you how to achieve what I've achieved, right? I've done it. I'm bringing it to you. And I've done it in a rural, small town, Nevada. I've done a couple in rural small towns. So if I can do it in rural Nevada, you guys can do this. I'm telling you, if you go to my city, small city with definitely a Wild West mentality, which I absolutely love now. But absolutely let us know. Get with your concierge, let them know, just connect with somebody, one of my team members. If you don't have anyone that you're working with, let us know in the comments and somebody will be available to work with you. And let me see. Good morning, Colleen. How are you today? Richie across all. Oh, okay, Courtney, perfect. Yes, and welcome, Courtney. I know you're one of our newest members, so welcome. I'm so excited to have you on board. So hopefully you can make it for my office hours tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. so we can chat. Oh yes, and today I am also doing a bonus Zoom session. I did get enough of you guys that reached out to me and do want to participate in the Zoom. So we will post the link in the chat or on the group today, and let us know. Will you guys leave a comment and let us know if you would like to be tagged in that Zoom link, and so we can tag you so it's easier for you to find. But basically it's going to kind of be like a mock coaching where you guys can come on to the Zoom tonight. It's going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific time, so what is that, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we can actually discuss questions. Like right now, I'm just looking at your questions on my phone and on the notes. I actually have paper and the notes I took from what you submitted to my staff last week. But tonight, we can actually have a discussion. So if you jump on, let your concierge know that you would like a hot seat. And what we'll do is we will schedule the people who let us know in advance. We will actually schedule you in. And if you're watching this on the replay and you don't get the opportunity to let us know in advance, that is okay. Come on board anyway. If we have time, I will also answer your questions. But let us know. You can either let us know here. Oops, sorry, guys. I hit the wrong thing. Sorry. Thanks, Christian. Good morning. Just let us know in the comments that you would like a hot seat tonight, and that way we can actually schedule you in and I can answer your questions on the Zoom call that we're doing. So let me see, who did I miss? Good morning, Tara. How are you? We need to connect, Tara, for sure. So, okay, so let us get into it and start going through some questions. Okay, so Courtney, you did actually, let me look at your question. I'm going to look through the feed that I posted today first, and then we'll go back. I know you said that you don't place ads, but rather recruit people you meet or no. But if you were to place an ad, where do you recommend? So if I were to place an ad, one of the things I would really suggest you guys is look within your own network. Okay, this is something that we often overlook, but do look within your network. Place an ad on your Facebook page. So I'll tell you, that being said, one of my fears of placing an ad on my Facebook page is I'm going to attract people I don't necessarily want, right? So when you do, just be specific on what you really want so you eliminate those people that you don't want applying, right? Think of the traits that you don't want applying for, right? Like, so basically last week we did talk about how to be creative with job posting ads. And a couple of my clients actually emailed me a sample of their ads and we worked together and we tweaked them. And Courtney, that is absolutely something we can do as well. We can work on that together, but they emailed them to me. We back and forth emailed until we got it right. But they were wonderful. Just things like, how would you like to really make a difference in the world? Or because you want that tagline. The first line needs to be a question and it needs to really catch attention, right? So if you do it on your personal Facebook page, make sure you still want to catch attention, but you also want to eliminate certain people, right? So think of things that you want to eliminate, like must be able to work these hours, specific hours, and think about specific work ethic things, like must be committed to showing up every single day on time. Things like that. I'm trying to think. Okay, so here's another example. If your state has some pretty strict guidelines on what has to be, like, I know like California is pretty strict on, you have to have list like it must have 12 credits of ECE, this, that, and that, things like that. List must get CPR certified. Another big one, which is big in the area I live in, is you must be able to pass an FBI background check. Okay, so that in my community is something that would eliminate a lot of people. So things like that you can include. So you want to catch them with those, with your vision and your why. But you do want to include those eliminating factors. Okay, so think of people you want to eliminate. And I'm sure we can all look at our Facebook friends and there's specific people that you want to eliminate, right? Why? And then start listing the criteria that might eliminate those people. So that's where I would do, for example, just like has to have a clean record. They must be able to pass an FBI check, must be able to get CPR certified, must be able to lift more than 20 pounds, right? Because some of these children that we're picking up are more than 20 pounds. And if that's something you don't want to eliminate, that's okay. I mean, we can always work around that as well. But that's what I want you to think in terms of, is not just think about like when you're posting, we absolutely want the vision. So, and this is not an ad, okay? This is like an actual posting, but add as well the traits you want to eliminate. And then look at your local communities. Do you have local community pages that will let you post job openings? Post on those, like neighborhood pages, city pages, post there. Now, we are now hiring, looking for, I never start it with now hiring. I always start something like, would you love to be a part of a team that changes the world? Would you love to impact a child's life, have a lasting impact on a child's life? Stuff like that is where I always, and then I'll say, the Zoo and Around Preschool team is looking for someone who, and I always do say experience is not required, because again, like I said, I would rather give them experience. For me, I find it way easier to take someone who has the character and the values that align with me and train them into the teacher I want them to be, than hire somebody that I have to retrain and that I have to fix bad habits in, right? And I don't know, people coming from other centers very often have bad habits. They're not used to sitting and engaging with children. And for me, that is the most important part of the job. I just absolutely hate to see teachers who are so caught up in busy work, where they're always looking for busy work that really isn't important, right? Where, it's important to dust the bookshelf, the curriculum books and all that. But honestly, that can be done during nap time. That does not need to be done when the children are in the classroom. When the children are in the room, awake and alert, the teacher's attention should 100% be of the time be with engaging the children. They should be on the floor playing. They should be walking the room and having rich conversations that are building vocabulary. They're building social, emotional skills. They're modeling what behaviors should look like, right? They're teaching math, science, as they just mingle and talk with the children. So, and that is the biggest thing that I have to retrain, is teaching them how to engage instead of making themselves look busy. So hopefully that works. That makes sense to you guys. Good morning. Let's see. Good morning, Jessica. You would like to join tonight. So that's awesome, Jessica. Perfect. We'll get you the Zoom link. Tiffany. Yes, Tiffany, we'll get you the Zoom link. Christian, Courtney. Absolutely. Nice. Tara. Oh, yes, Shaylin. And perfect. Thank you, ladies. We will get you guys a Zoom link to participate. So tonight. So let me see. I got another question on how to get staff. Well, Rebecca, I would say go watch last week's training. I did a whole week's worth of training last week on how to recruit staff members. But one of the other trainings or questions I got that I do want to go over that actually has to do with that is what are some creative spaces? And this is probably the same, Courtney, your question too. What are some creative spaces you can use to recruit? So, okay, and Courtney, let me get back to your question, because I do think, I don't know if I like Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and all those. They are so oversaturated. If you go in as an employer or an employee looking for a job to any of those sites, type in your city and find which one isn't so oversaturated. But a lot of them have literally like 1,000 jobs, and they're just randomly sending your job to people they think is going to be a fit. But these people's inboxes are also getting inundated with 100 other jobs. So just kind of go in and the employee experience. I don't think one is better than the other, to be honest with you. But what I would really watch for is how many openings are there. So the people you're trying to reach, how many other people are using that? And are you just going to be lost in the crowd? Are you really paying ZipRecruiter all this money just to get lost in a pile of other jobs? The other one too is look at your local registry, like or your call licensing. And sometimes they'll have job boards. Like for us here in Nevada, we have what's called the Nevada Registry. It is the one that approves all of our trainings for early childhood education, and they have a job board. So look and see if your subsidy program has a job board, any of those other areas have job boards, because it'll be a lot more slim, right? There's not so many people, and you're not getting buried and lost in this crowd of hundreds of different job openings. Also, your community colleges. So now here is what are some creative spaces to use when recruiting? So here, let me go into this question as well. So your community colleges are a wonderful place to go. Find the ECE department, the Human Development and Family Studies department, the Education Department of Education, Social Services, any of those, and let them know that you're hiring. A lot of times they too will have job boards. Here's the other thing. A lot of times they need internship sites. So interns are wonderful. They're often free. We're starting to head into a world where interns want to get paid. Some universities and colleges will not let you pay interns, right? They have to be free. But then others are now starting to make it a requirement to pay interns. So it really depends on your area, which college you choose. But look at the local community colleges, the trade schools, and your universities that are within a good distance of your center. I go through 3 community colleges and the university in my area. And one of the community colleges is up to an hour away. One of them's main campus is 4 hours away. But a lot of students in my area take virtual classes through them. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, there's no colleges in my area. Well, what community college, what university are people taking online classes that live in your community, right? Those are the colleges you want to get a hold of and let them know that you can be an intern site. It's not that hard to be an intern site, you guys. Not nearly as hard. I just had to fill out a very small 1-page application to be an intern site for our local university. The university, actually, I do have to pay interns, but it has to be paid at minimum wage. And remember, these interns have to do the job in order to get the college credit, right? So that's a great place to find labor. And some of the community colleges, it is free, but it's more like a practicum, which is still getting some bodies in your door. The nice thing about interns, there's 2 things. There's negative and positive. The negative part about interns is they're only with you for a season, right? They're only with you during the school year. So you have that revolving door when it comes to interns. The nice thing, though, is that they haven't been jaded by bad experience, and they do know ECE. A lot of times they know child development. That is huge, right? It's so hard for us to find people who actually know child development. So interns can be a great way to go that we normally don't think about so much in our space. And let me see, I did a different training. It just dawned on me. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier about recruiting. And let me find it really quick because I know I had a slideshow I did. I can't believe I didn't think about this until just now on recruiting. And it actually has an entire slide on creative venues to search for new hires. But I would say your best bet is going to be to do creative hiring. There it is. So your best bet is going to be those community colleges though, because you're going to get really good quality people, and sometimes they stay with you. They don't always stay with you, but sometimes they do. The other place to look is if you guys have any community outreach. So go to your local like WIC office or call. You don't have to go, just call. They'll be and ask them like, where do people needing job placements go? Use those government agencies. Here in my local community, we like to use Join. Join is a nationwide employer that really does help. It takes people who are struggling to get hired because a lot of times they're stay-at-home moms. Love the stay-at-home moms, right? Well, stay-at-home mom who hasn't worked in 8 or 10 years and they just haven't been in the workforce. So what happens with stay-at-home moms is they assume they can't get a job because they have no experience. So they don't even try, or they're going for jobs that they would absolutely hate because they're assuming since they have no experience, they have no choice, right? So basically, local areas like your community. So we have like community chest here, Join. Your county will probably have some resources, any kind of human resource network, right? So where do people go for those resources? Oh, those places also do job trainings. Your local high school is another great one because a lot of times they have adult education programs that are helping people to enter the workforce. Your local city. So don't discount your local governments. Call them and say, hey, if somebody is looking for a job and they're struggling, where do they go? What trainings are available to help job seekers learn skills and join those communities? There are so many out there, you guys, that you will have a lot of the people coming to you that you normally might not have thought about that are important, that can really add to your team. So that's another great one. Let's see. Okay, so before I move on to these two next questions, I was just looking at one of these slides here and I'm going to go over that instead. One of the things I want to talk to you guys about also is making sure when you're trying to attract the right people. We live in a culture right now that you are being interviewed as an employer as much as we are interviewing staff. So make sure that your public image is what you want it to be. So check your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Instagram, all of it, right? What does your center's profile look like? And if you don't have one, you guys, you have to do this. It is vital. Whether you're enrolling or recruiting, this is something that is absolutely vital. You have to have an online presence. A lot of us don't want websites. They don't want to deal with the tech. But let me tell you something. Think about, we live in a society right now that the only way you're going to be found is if you are online, right? YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. So it's great to do a quick 1-minute YouTube video with keywords in it, right? Make sure you have a Facebook page because Facebook also shows up in a search engine. You should really honestly have a website because recruits are looking for you online. That is where they're looking. Think about when you want to go to a restaurant, what do? We pick up our phones. We do Google searches. You ask Siri, right? I have an Android, so I do a Google, hey Google. And oh, there she goes. So that's what you guys really need to keep in mind is that people are looking for you online. So you have to have a strong online presence. If you don't, I work with Raul Berry. I will tag Raul in this thread so that he can post information on how you guys can get a hold of him. He is amazing. If you look at Zoom Around's Facebook page, which is my center, you can see the work that Raul does. His company manages Zoom Around's Facebook page. So absolutely delegate it, you guys. Last week we talked about don't do anything that you would pay someone less than $100 an hour for, something you want to delegate. You also want professionals who really know what they're doing, looking and doing this for you. Because think about it this way. If you and I are both trying to recruit, right? If we're both trying to enroll and someone goes to my website, my Facebook page, they see my profiles, I'm everywhere, right? My childcare center is everywhere. right now. I have a wait list. I don't need to, but I'm always there because it's about branding. And that's a whole different lesson that we could learn. But who are they going to follow? Are they going to follow me because like what I'm putting out into the world? Are they going to come apply with me, or are they going to apply with you? So the image you put into the world is very, very important in the world of recruiting. If you want people to come to you, you have to have the right image, right? If you are relying on them coming to you instead of going and getting them, which I get, many of you have to do that because this takes time to establish, then you have to make sure that when they're looking you up, are they looking you up and saying, oh yeah, I would like to work with this person or this company? Or can they not find anything at all? So they move on to the next, right? But people are researching you. And you, wow, I'm sorry, a bird is trying to get in my, that is the weirdest thing that's literally fluttering on my window and just kind of threw me. But they are researching you. So make sure when they're doing the research, they're getting the information they need to see. So the next couple questions I got do not actually have to do with recruiting, but I told you guys I don't care. It doesn't have to be doing with recruiting. So let's get going on these. How do I get staff to stop walking all over me? That is a question I get all the time. And I think the next question, they both kind of tie together, and you guys will notice a theme. I'm going to actually read the next question also because there's a theme, right? And you guys will notice, and I get a lot of these. I actually took a couple different questions for this next one and I paraphrased them, and because there was like 4 or 5 people who had the same question, just worded differently. So the next one, and it's the same thing basically. My center culture is toxic. What do I do? So my center's walking all over me. The toxic center, it's the same thing, you guys. Same. I'm going to give you the same answer I would for both, right? One of them's a little bit different, but what's happening is you probably lack structure. If you're getting walked all over, if you have people calling in all the time, if you, they just don't listen to you, if they're not following your policies, you probably don't have clear expectations set up for them. You probably don't have expectations that you can refer back to, right? And you're probably not holding them accountable. If you don't have an attendance policy that is very specific, like after 3 call-ins, you go on to a 90-day probationary period, which if you call in one time during that 90 days, you're terminated, right? Or 6 months. I actually like to do 6 months when it comes to that one. Even 2 call-ins within a month. And it's not that cut and dry. Of course, sometimes there's justifiable reasons, right? If somebody has COVID, they can't come. So that's different. So there are going to be qualifying factors like we need a doctor's note. I'm very cautious with doctor's note because doctors are very, 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 very generous with doctor's notes. So those are different things that it has to be spelled out very clearly. And it has to be somewhere where people can reference it. So let's say your staff isn't turning in curriculum to you on time, right? Like at our center, all staff has to turn in their curriculum plans for the following week by Thursday. Their shopping lists have to be turned in. Everything is like, so we're like almost 2 weeks ahead of everything. But Thursdays are our cutoff date. So if you want your curriculum supplies from the next Monday, then you needed to turn in your stuff Thursday of last week. And there's a reason for that. It gives us time to prepare. It gives us time to get all of the things we need to do, right? Well, what happens if they don't? Do you just scramble and make it happen anyway? Or do you actually make them suffer the consequences of their actions, right? They don't get the stuff. They've got to figure it out now. And do you hold them accountable? That is the big thing. So, okay, so let's say they had a project that needed cotton balls. And we don't have cotton balls right now, but they gave you your shopping list late. Well, we are scheduled to go to the store once a week at a certain hour every week. That's it. My staff knows that, Fridays at 1 p.m. is shopping day. If that list wasn't into them, then you don't get your stuff. That's that. You don't get it. So now you have to go redo your plans, go look in our supply closet, find the things that you need that are going to submit, and basically come up with something, because you will be held accountable if you do nothing, right? So that's the other thing too, is when this is documented and they don't turn this stuff in, you can go back to them and say, okay, it is our policy, always has been, that this, and this. Now, sometimes there's a good reason, right? If they're just like, well, this happened and this happened, blah, 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 blah. But usually if something happens, my staff is also trained that they will have a solution for the problem. They may go get the supplies on their own and then we'll reimburse them, but it's not going to be our problem anymore. They know what is expected. It is very clear. It is very documented. And if they don't get it completed, they don't get what they need. So there is an actual action that needs to be taken, and there are consequences that they suffer, right? So what I'd have to ask you is, if your staff is walking all over you, what are the consequences? Are they being held accountable, and are there any consequences? Because I can almost guarantee you there's no consequences, right? So there has to be accountability. And when you create this culture of accountability and staff members know that they're going to be held accountable, they just do. But when they know they can get away with everything, they will. They absolutely will. And it becomes your center's culture, and it becomes a toxic culture within your center, right? It creates this toxicity. People need expectations. They need guidance. They need clear instruction. And when they don't follow through with it, they need to be held accountable. They absolutely need to be held accountable. So the other thing I want to talk about a little bit with the toxic people in the environment is what I want to. So if you ever notice that sometimes we go through phases in a program where sometimes things will just feel heavy, where like everybody is just suddenly disgruntled. They're all just talking bad about everybody. Everything is just so negative. And it's like, oh, this is a horrible place to work. Oh, this is, and you get this culture of like toxicity that is just rampant through your center. One of the things that we have noticed is that when this happens, there's usually a ringleader. Okay, there's usually one or two people within your center that is fueling all of this. That's why when you guys have breakers, you have to be very, very, very careful who you make your breaker. You need to make sure that your breaker is not somebody who has a big mouth. They have to be somebody who keeps things to themselves, and they're not going to take the gossip from your infant room all the way to your pre-K classroom, right? If anyone is floating around your center, that has to be somebody who does not engage in toxic, like gossip and things like that. Otherwise, they will spread that cancer of gossip and toxicity around your entire program, right? But even still, you don't want anyone in your program like that. So you have to basically make it very clear when you have that toxic employee that you're not going to put up with it. You have to make it very clear. I learned this lesson early on in my career, and I had this toxic employee that I let stay with me way too long. She was with me for probably about 3 years. So negative. She was just so negative. And she was a great teacher. She was wonderful with the children, children. But she never said anything good about my program. Well, her co-teacher appeared to be the same way. I kind of knew that the co-teacher just followed her lead. Just the gossip, the negativity was always around, right? So I finally just one day, I just couldn't take it anymore. Just the talking, the constant gossip and talking. And so I let her go. And it was amazing how my entire program changed. That one person was basically, she was the rotten apple that was rotting my entire team. And her coworker that was in the classroom that I thought at the time was just like her is still with me today. And she's one of the best employees I have. It's just that person was influencing her. I mean, imagine if you're working in a room all day long with somebody who never has anything good to say, that's just constantly criticizing and pointing out all the negativity. It is going to spill over to your co-teacher. And then the breaker is going to come into the room, and all she's going to hear is, did you hear what they did this time? Did you blah, blah, blah? And just the talking and the talking and the talking and the talking and the talking, right? And then that breaker is going to go around and spread it through the whole building. So I want to challenge you guys to think of the person in your center that exhausts you. When you think of that one staff member, that person just makes you feel exhausted, right? They are just so much to deal with. I know it's hard to hire right now. I know I just did a recruiting boot camp because of it, but that person has to go. You've got to let them go. I did a podcast episode that, I did a podcast episode that's called, When It's Time to Say Goodbye. And I basically go through with you guys my experiences of the times that I didn't fire people early enough because I was so afraid to lose that body, right? We get so afraid of ratios that we're so afraid to lose that warm body that we hold on to toxicity way too long. And that one toxic person that is draining you is draining your entire staff. And they're creating the toxicity in your entire program. So listen to that episode of the podcast. It's When It's Time to Say Goodbye. I can have one of my team members post the link to it in the chat, but it will basically go through just questions to ask yourself. And just to really look at to find that person that is causing the toxicity. There might be more than one, but normally when you have this toxic environment, I have found in the past that it is one person. And I let this go so out of control at one point. I had one toxic person who, again, she was an excellent teacher, amazing with the children, and the parents loved her. But this person was so toxic that she rallied a few of my employees to call the labor board and file complaints against me. It was the only time I've ever had like an official investigation by the labor commissioner done on my center. And it's funny because the case literally was opened and shut in 2 hours. The labor commissioner actually said to me, "This is one of the most petty cases I've ever had to do. I'm so sorry you had to go through this." But I did, and it broke my heart. And I lost 2 excellent employees because of that one person poisoning their mind against me, right? And it's interesting because both of those employees that I lost at that time have since called me. And since that happened, they both apologized to me. One of them actually even went as far as to take me to lunch and apologize. But both of them have reached out and said, "I am so sorry I let her get in my head." And these are 2 people that I loved these 2 employees. They worked for me for years. It's like, she really got into my head and I am so sorry. And both of them, it was like a year later, one of them about a year and a half later for the other. And they both just said, in retrospect, I see how wrong we were now. And I see how she influenced and how she purposely turned us against you. And I'm just so sorry for that. So don't let that happen, you guys. Yes, Moira says, I've worked for a childcare center like that, and it is exhausting, right? And when you're in a room, Moira was actually a childcare, she's a teacher. She's an excellent, excellent teacher. And a center recently lost her because of this. It being in a classroom with that toxic person. So if you're losing your great teachers, there's probably that toxicity that is making them go. And I know you guys are all terrified to hire right now, but you're going to lose your best people if you don't get rid of these toxic people. They gotta go. And they also have to learn that there's no room for this in your center. There is no room for this kind of behavior at your program. When you start letting that one person go, it's amazing how everybody just is kind of like, "Oh my gosh, she's serious now. She means business now. Oh, we better start behaving now," right? Just like kids, same thing. So the other thing I would have to say in that is one of the things Brandy and I started doing that we do, which actually, let me read the next question, is how do you deal with it when employees have conflict within each other? So it's the same concept that we do. Because that starts the he said, she said stuff. That starts gossip. So what we do, we confront the situation head on. Anytime we hear people gossiping about something, we go straight to the source. The person who says, "Hey, so-and-so told me," we confront the person who's telling us this, and we go straight to the person that's saying so-and-so told me, and we confront it right there and then. We absolutely confront, okay, we hear that you're saying, we confront the situation right there and then, because that sends a message that we're not going to put up with this stuff. You start talking, we're confronting, and we know. We all have that employee who comes and tells us all the gossip, right? There's that one employee who tells us everything that's being spread around the center. We all have that employee. And most of the staff don't know who that employee is, and you don't want to reveal who that employee is. But whenever they come to tell you these things, you got to find out who is starting these rumors. You have to pull them into your office, do it in private, and you have to confront them. Once the staff starts understanding and knowing that you're not putting up with this stuff and you're going to be confronting this every single time, they will stop. They will absolutely stop the gossip. I guarantee it. It stops when they know that you're confronting it and they know that you know. A lot of times we don't want to hurt feelings or do anything, so we don't confront the person who's causing the problems. You got to confront them and do it in a documented way. You need to document it. It's a verbal warning, right? That you're not going to put up with this, but you still need to date, time, documentation so that you're learning these patterns of behavior and you can deal with it. And if they do it again, then yes, it is a write-up. And you need to take this stuff very seriously, because it might just seem like a stupid annoyance, but those stupid annoyances are causing you your best staff. You can ask Moira. Same reason she left, right? So let's see. I sit the two people down, and yes, that's what we do too, and serve as a translator. I will say things like, I hear blah, blah, blah saying yes. Colleen, they always deny it. They always do. But 90% of the time, when you call people on their stuff, they're not going to admit it. But the point isn't really to get them to admit it. The point is to let them know that you know. And that you're not putting up with this. So when I do, I really don't allow, and I do get clarifications, because I have to say though, sometimes the person who has come to me and said, so-and-so said this, this, and this, after you sit down with the person and confront them, sometimes you find out that it was the person that actually came to you that's actually saying this stuff, and they're projecting it onto somebody else. So it does take, it's almost like we have to become detectives, right? And you have to just kind of lead, but when you start confronting people, the truth does come out. It starts to reveal itself, right? And so in that situation, I would bring that other person back in and say, hey, so-and-so's telling me that you said, like, you accused this person, and now they're saying it was you, right? Now, keep in mind, so let's say Anne comes to you and Anne says, hey, Betty is talking about the program. She's saying that you guys don't pay enough, and that you're not paying overtime properly, right? So she's saying we need to call the labor board, right? So then you call Betty in your office, and she's just like, no, Anne was trying to get me to sign this petition. Well, you're not telling Betty that this came from Anne. You don't ever want to use Anne's name. So if she's pointing it back to that person, you want to bring that person in, right? And then if they just keep going on, bring them both in. That's what I'll do. They will both be there at the same time, because if they're in the room together, they can't lie about it, right? The truth has to come out at that point, because they're sitting there together. So so sometimes it is like playing detective, and you're going to have to go round and round and figure out who is what. But it is well worth it, because when staff realizes that this is how you deal with things, they don't want to be confronted like this, and it stops. They just don't do it anymore. So that's where I do. Yes. I guess detective, we have all, yes. Oh my gosh, we have so many hats to wear, don't we? And then let's see, I wanted to see Courtney's comment too. I wanted to go back to that. Yes, we do the same thing. So that's the other thing, is when you have two employees that are having conflict within each other, 90% of the time when I have dealt with this situation, it turns out to be a huge misunderstanding. There's just some kind of lack of communication. So whenever I bring the employees in together, I do this exactly what you're saying, Courtney, is I work as a translator. And it's kind of funny that you use that term, because that's exactly what I say. And I actually tell them, I'm like, okay, so I've heard and usually I get their sides first so I can really understand. And this is the psychologist in me working. But usually I bring one person and say, okay, you tell me your interpretation of what's happening. You tell me your interpretation of what's happening, right? And I do it separately. And then what I explain to people is there's three sides to every story. There's your side, and then there's the truth. And 90% of what's happening is it's like they're speaking two different languages, and somewhere there's lost communication. So when I bring them in, I always start off the conversation as, okay, this is really just a huge misunderstanding. And I tell them, whenever I deal with this, and I've dealt with this type of situation several times, 90% of the time that I've come to find that it was always just a huge misunderstanding. And it's almost like you're speaking Spanish and you're speaking Japanese, and it's hard for you guys to understand. So I'm here to work as your translator. I literally say that to them. I am here to work as your translator. And then I have this person speak without any interruptions. I tell this person, because they're going to try, that's not, they try to interject. And then I'll say something like, you need to understand, we are going to hear this from Anne's perspective. You may have interpreted things differently, and your perspective may not be the same as Anne's, but this is Anne's perspective, and we're going to honor and listen to her perspective, right? And then Anne's going to speak. And then Betty's going to come in, and now we're going to stop, and I'm going to say, okay, Anne, just like I didn't let Betty interfere in your perspective, now we're going to hear Betty's perspective. And then we let them speak, right? And so you can't let them, as soon as the one tries to say, say, no, you will be given your time. And you can even use timers for this, but we let them hear. And then we always tell them, like, everybody sees things from a different lens, right? We base what happened in our interpretation of things, and we interject so often our opinions based on our own personal life experiences. That's exactly what you guys are doing here. So let me tell you what I see as the outsider that's outside the fishbowl looking in. And a lot of times, I don't even need to do that. A lot of times, if they just talk about their own personal perspectives, the other one will be like, that's how you felt? That's what you thought? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that's what you thought I meant. Let me explain, right? And usually if you do it in that way, they actually figure it out together. And all you have to do is moderate and mediate. That's it, most of the time. But every now and then, you do have to help one party see the other one's perspective. And so I will tell them, oftentimes, like, everybody's perspective is different. The way we interpret things is so different. You and I can watch the same exact movie and come up with completely different conclusions, because I'm basing my opinion on my life experiences, my worldview, and my personal lens. Your experience might be very different, and the way you see things is very, very different. Really quickly, I'll give you guys an example. We had a child that moved, I cannot even remember the country now. It was a country in Africa. Gosh, we've had so many children move from different countries, but that I can't remember. But their culture in the country that this child came from was that you let children fight out their conflicts, right? So if there's a brawl on the playground, adults don't interfere. They let the children figure things out on their own by fighting, whatever it takes. And not just fighting. I mean, they just let children solve their own problems. As westernized thinkers with our worldview, we think, oh my gosh, that's horrible. But if you really think it objectively, right, if we take ourselves out of it, our personal experiences, our worldview out, and we see this from an objective perspective, is it really? I mean, it's hard for me even saying it, because my mind is saying, like, of course it is. But then there's another part of me that's like, okay, but I need to take my own personal experience and beliefs out of this, right? So when this child would come in, it was a very aggressive child, very, very aggressive. And everybody just automatically, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with this kid. There's something wrong with this kid. It wasn't until we learned the family's perspective, and the parents were just, when we would try and talk to the parents, all like, your child punched somebody today. Mom would just be like, oh, okay, well, great. That solved the issue then. And we'd just be like, what are you talking? No, it didn't solve the issue. The punching is the problem. What the heck? But until we stop to hear mom's perspective, until we stop to learn where mom was coming from, we just automatically, the teachers and just were like, wow, what is wrong with this parent? What is wrong? Whoa. So we had to approach it from a different perspective completely, where we had to say, okay, we get that in your culture, but that isn't how our culture works. So this is what we need from this child, and here's how we're going to help you, right? So we came up with this action plan. So have you guys has the thought ever even occurred to you that aggression may be cultural for some of your children. And instead of just thinking that they're bad and out of control and that they have impulse control issues, maybe that's what they were taught, right? So a totally different way of thinking. And that's why an example of why it's so important that we try and take another perspective. And we have to help our teens see that too. Because in the same situation, my teachers were like, oh, this kid is awful. They had no idea that this is how the child was when he was in preschool in his home nation, right? They have to basically, that's how they figure things out. And so once we understood that, we were able to come up with a plan to help them assimilate into American culture, right? We were able to actually figure out, oh, okay, this is what that child needs. They just need to know that that's not how we do things here. And we ended up having that child for about, we had his sister when she was a baby. So altogether, they were a family of ours for 8 years. And it just came down to helping the family understand our perspective. But before we did, we had to understand their perspective as well. And a lot of times that's what you're going to have to do for teachers. We're going to have to help our teachers just come up with those different perspectives. So I hope this was helpful for you guys today. I want to honor your time and not take up more than the hour that we have scheduled. So again, if you want to be a part of our program before the price goes up to $497 a month, make sure you join us by the end of Tuesday evening. And let us know in the comments if you want to be a part of our Zoom session tonight, and we can make sure that you get that link. You can message your concierge as well if you need that link to the Zoom session, because I know they can be such a pain to find. But again, if you didn't get the beginning, I'm going to be doing an open door Zoom session tonight with anybody who wants to jump on. It'll be very similar to how my office hours work. So all you need to do is you can submit your questions in advance. That way, you know for sure you get a hot seat. And if I have time, we can get probably a lot more done if I get the questions in advance that you want to discuss. So tonight on Zoom, it'll be much more discussion where you can actually interact with me, speak to me instead of me just speaking to a camera. So make sure that we know if you want to join us, and we will get you guys those links. And again, it's going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. You guys will just be able to get on there and pick my brain. And remember, if you want to be part of our team, if you are ready to take your center to the next level, if you're ready to be done with these things we talked about today, the toxic staff, the gossip, just all this stuff, if you're ready, make sure you join us so that we can help you to build that center that isn't exhausting and draining you. We can help you with those business structures to make sure we get those plans in place that you need. We're getting ready to do our 2022 planning. So that is very, very important that you guys get on board with that now. So let us know, or reach out to your concierge and let them know that you're ready to join. I'm excited to be working with more of you. I love my clients. So let's see. We would love to see you guys. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.